In this video, I'm going to take you through the website artbreeder.com, which is a really good resource for finding particular kinds of artwork. In particular, if you're interested in sort of fantasy or science fiction style artwork, this is a really good place to get such artwork. Firstly, very quickly, and secondly, of a very high quality, and thirdly, of a lot of variety, really infinite variety, because you can create it yourself quite easily, even if you're not terribly artistic. So this is what you'll see if you come to the site without having an account. You really do need to have an account to use the features of it. Without an account, you just pretty much get a tour that's telling you to make an account. So let's say I've made an account and logged in and so on. This is what you'll get. So let's say that I'm interested in getting a character portrait of a dwarf, a male dwarf, let's say, as an example. There's a few things I could do. Firstly, I could just scroll down the examples that this thing will give me. I probably won't see, if I'm after something as specific as a male dwarf, I probably won't find one just by doing this, but I might find something that interests me. I might think that landscape, for example, looks like something relevant to me, or I might like, if you're into anime, I might like one of those too. I might think this landscape is relevant to whatever I'm trying to do. This will go infinitely, because it'll just load up new ones as you keep scrolling down. But let's say I'm more specific in my intentions in that I want a picture of a male dwarf, and I'm not interested in anything else. So what I would do is I'd go down here to the bottom of the screen. I can just look for characters, for example, but even that would probably not help me that much. So what I'd probably do is search in the tags here. So let's search dwarf, and not sure that that's terribly dwarf-like, what I'm getting there. Has that gone through? Oh, here we go. Okay, so those first ones are a bit odd, but okay, so these guys are looking a bit more dwarf-like. So I might just decide that, say, this guy here, this is what I think a dwarf looks like. So I'll just click on that one. And that might be good enough. I can just download that. To get a large amount of downloads, you do need to pay. It's a freemium website, meaning that the basic functions are free, but if you're going to use it sort of seriously, you are going to need a subscription. The subscriptions are reasonably cheap. Let's have a look at that. Starting at $8.99 a month, and that gives you 200 downloads. You also get slightly better resolution, actually significantly better resolution downloads than the free people do. And then of course you can pay more if you need still more than that. But let's say this guy's good enough for me. Well, I can, if I click that, it'll, among other things, it will save it to my account. And so when I come back later, he'll still be there if I want to download him again. I can click that one, the download image, to download it again. But let's say that it's not quite right. Well, one thing I can do, the reason it's called Artbreeder is that it gives you the option to combine two pictures in the same category, in this case, two what they call portraits, and create a new portrait that combines their characteristics. And it also gives you the sort of family tree. Well, actually, you can combine more than two. It's just normally people do two. It also gives you the sort of family tree of how this portrait came to be. So if we scroll up a bit, we can see that it's a combination of these two. And then if I'm interested in this one, it tells me that one's a combination of 8 different portraits. And I can sort of follow that up, and there might be one that's sort of closer. I might decide that, for example, this guy is more to my liking. But let's say that I didn't. Let's say that I want that guy. Let's say that he's almost there, but he's not quite right for me. Well, what I'll do is I'll press breed, the green plus button, and this is probably the most sort of interesting part of the site, at least in my experience. Let's say I want to make him look a bit older. So I'll click on the age they call gene, and I'll up that just a tiny bit. You can actually see it change a little bit as you move it, but let's say I'll give it plus 15 age, and now I've got a very similar portrait but older. Well, that's great, but I want him to have piercing blue eyes, so I'm going to up the blue eyes gene a little bit, see what that does. Now you can see that he has noticeably bluer eyes. Let's say I decide that that's probably a silly idea, so I just reset it. And back it is. Let's say these are all menus you can open and close. Let's say I want him to look a little bit angrier. It's not going to give me a preview of that, but let's say 20%. There he is. That's a bit more like it. Okay, that's great, but can we make his mouth open a little bit? That didn't do a lot. Let's try that a bit more. Okay, let's say I decide that that's what I want. I'll click on that, and that's now in my account. Let's say that I decide, actually, now that I've thought about it, this guy looks a bit dumb. I want the other one. Well, it's easy enough to just delete the image. And he's gone forever. That was portraits. You can see that there's a lot of landscapes. So, and if you're into sort of fantasy or science fiction, it's easy to get sort of alien-looking landscapes or sort of fantasy-looking landscapes. There's also anime style portraits, which are basically the same as portraits, except they're in that particular style. There's what they call characters, which are more like full body characters. There's another character. There's also buildings, and there's a thing called what do they call it? Sci-bio art, which is sort of weird weird sort of surreal photographs, photograph looking usually. General, this is another weird photograph, but it's different categories. Paintings is what it sounds like. It looks like it's usually looks like old art. Furries is sort of furry characters. Albums is album covers, and you can also do animations. Although, I mean, they're really interesting, but they're probably less useful for if you're trying to collect art for a project or something. You're probably going to want still images. But let's have a quick look at buildings. So what it does is it's generating things more or less at random. Now, what I would probably do in this case is I'd probably choose the one on the left because it's more like the sort of thing I'm likely to be interested in. But let's say that nothing interested me. Well, I could just click this reload button and get three more. But, well, yeah, okay, let's say none of those really interest me as well. What I can do is add parent, and I can either just scroll down and it'll give me sort of ones that are popular at the moment. I mean, this weird looking one appeals to me a lot, but let's say, well, none of those are that great. Let's say I want something that looks Asian. There you go. I get a lot of pagodas. This one's a sort of bizarre combination of a pagoda and a high-rise. I like this one. It's a sort of science fiction combination of science fiction and a pagoda. In real life, I'd definitely pick that one. But let's say I don't like any of those. Let's say I want something African. Oh, nothing African. Okay. The hashtags are just generated by people. So let's one that looks like a sketch. And now I get lots of black and white, sort of line drawing-y looking ones. I definitely pick that one on the top left in real life. But so as you can see, it's fairly easy to to find a parent, and what it'll do, you could just keep the parent that you find if you like it, but it'll generate children to those parents. You can add another parent and combine them. So let's demonstrate that. Okay, like that one and that one. You can have any number. Just because they're called parents doesn't mean that you need to have exactly two. Let's say that I like the style of this one, and I don't like the style of that one as much. And so it'll generate ones that have that sort of black and white sketchy look. But let's say, no, I don't like that. I actually like the watercolor look of the left one. I have to say I'm not 100% sure what the difference between content and style is in this case. I think style is like color and whether it looks like a painting or a photo or a picture, and then content is the thing that is depicted. I'm not sure if that's exactly right, but it seems like, so for example, if I do this, I'm thinking that should give me a sort of high-rise looking building in a watercolor style. Well, let's see if that works. Yeah. Okay. So you can see that this looks like it's of a building that's similar to the one on the left, but it's done in a style which is more like the one on the right. And again, I can choose, all right, these three are all very similar, I guess, because I've used extremes. But let's say I pick that one. Then that gets in my saved images, and I can click in that. I can click in that whenever I want. I can also, the sort of blank face indicates my account. And I've saved that there so I can log out and come back later and deal with it. But I get into it, and that'll allow me to download it. It'll allow me to delete it, which is what I'm actually going to do. I can put a tag on there. That's where the tags come from. So I might tag that as blue, sketch, European. It sort of looks European to me. Comic book, for example. It looks like a comic book, etc., etc. And then whenever someone searches for any of those things, this one might come up. So if you're interested in the sort of art that you've seen here, like it does particular things really well. You can have art that looks like photos of people, or it can be sort of stylized, like this sort of pink-haired young woman here, and in particular of sort of head and shoulders portraits, landscapes, full characters. They tend to be a bit cruder looking, I found. And then if you're interested in anime or furries, they have a whole category for that, and architectural drawings. The landscapes sort of, a lot of the times the landscapes have buildings in them, or what seem to be buildings in them. So if you're looking for a picture of, say, an island with a building on it or something like that, it's quite easy to create that. And yeah, you can download sort of stuff that'd be good enough resolution for online use, for basically for free, up to a certain number. And then if you want to get higher resolution, and if you want to download more pictures, like if you're doing a game or something and you wanted sort of art for your cards, and say you were downloading 100 or 150 pieces, well, you would have to pay a bit more. But it's a hell of a lot cheaper than hiring an artist, and the quality can be really good. It's a small picture, but or this one here, it does look like something that you wouldn't. Someone wouldn't do that for you for free. It might not be super hard to do, but you still have to pay someone a fairly significant amount of money to do it. And AI has gotten to the point where it's now, possible to get an AI to do something like that for, not a lot of money. So if you're interested in that, I would say take it up. Thanks very much.